I've never overnight ice camped before, so in today's video, I'm going to be seeing if it's possible to do for under $500. Our goals are to get all the equipment needed to spend the night, stay warm, and hopefully even catch some fish while being on a tight budget. Let's go. To complete this challenge, I searched for the best deals possible on Facebook Marketplace, as well as looking at local hardware stores such as Harbor Freight. I'll only be accounting for the actual camping gear in this video and not the fishing gear. I'm not going to be counting the costs of rods and reels, the flasher, or the ice auger, simply because the focus is on the physical camping. Before you set up and begin to camp, it's important to check the thickness of the ice and make sure that you're setting up on ice that's thick enough to sustain you for however long you plan to camp. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a quick overview as well as a cost breakdown of each of the items that I purchased as I go through and set them up. To start us off, we have the most important item of this trip, and that is the Clam Refugee Ice Thermal Hub. I got this hub used on Facebook Marketplace for $200. The hub has 64 square feet of fishable area, and as you can see, I've staked it down with these nice tie-down straps on 3 of the sides. I've also gone out of my way to set up the hub on a spot that had a little bit of snow, as most of the lake was pretty clear. This little bit of snow on the ice will help to act as insulation, and I can also use the snow to cover the side flaps to hopefully help prevent a draft from coming in. Alright, well I got the house set up and you can see what it looks like on the inside here. Plenty of space. I'm only going to be using this little corner for fishing. The rest of this is going to be for setting up my camping stuff. We've got vent here, vent there, that'll help with airflow. Then we got 4 windows. And yeah, a couple pockets, little mesh hanger up here for storing whatever goodies I need. And honestly, never used this hub. And like I said, I paid $200 for it. The reason I got a good deal on this, and this is what you can look for if you're also trying to get a budget hub, is the zippers on it. A lot of these were broken from the previous owner. Pretty much every zipper is broken, but honestly, that doesn't bother me. A little bit of struggle to get the zippers open is worth saving $300, $400, $500 on a hub. And so I'm pretty happy with this purchase. We'll see if it can insulate well and hold the heat as good as it looks like it will. All right, well, we got the hub set up and I got my 3 holes drilled where I'm going to be fishing. 1 hole for fish finder, 2 for fishing in. And now I put down these foam floor tiles. So these tiles are 1/2 inch thick. I got these from Harbor Freight, and in total for 64 square feet, which covered the entirety of my hub pretty well, as you can see, I paid exactly $50 for all these. These are really important for helping to insulate your hub, stops the cold air from rising from the ice and getting in, and it also prevents the ice from just melting and turning into a slushy mess. Like I said, I left this patch open, but I do have 2 more there to put over that. This is where the cold air is at. So the cold air is going to be coming from there. And so I do have those 2 pieces that I'm going to put over it as soon as I plan to go to bed. When I'm done fishing, I'll cover that, and that should help to hold heat in here quite a bit better. All right, now that we got the floor down, we can start heating up this hub. For a heater, I have the Big Buddy by Mr. Heater. As you can see, I'm running just a 5-foot hose that's going outside to a 20-pound propane tank. And then I also have a backup hose in case this one gets clogged, because I've had that issue before. I also have a backup little 1-pound tank just in case something goes wrong with the 20-pounder. I did already own this heater and the hose and everything for this, but I'm going to go ahead and add $50 to the total for the heater and $20 for the propane. I really don't know how much this was brand new. I haven't even looked, but I have been seeing them go on Marketplace for around $50 to $70. If you get a good deal on one and you negotiate well, you should be able to get one for that $50 price point. Now that I have the heater set up, the most important thing that you can have when ice camping is a CO detector. As you can see, I got this one for $30 at Walmart, and it shows you humidity, temperature inside your hub, and also shows you parts per million for your CO. I also have another one setting up on the other side of the tent. This is a little bit of a cheaper one from Amazon. I think that one was around $15. I own 2. I got 2. I'm only going to add the cost for 1. And I'm going to cost for this one, which was the more expensive of the 2, is $30. But I run 2 just to make sure that one doesn't fail, because I do not want to die of CO. Do not want to play around with carbon monoxide. So I have 2 detectors, and those are probably the most important things that I brought with me today. For getting some airflow and some light inside the hub, I'm going to be trying this portable rechargeable light and fan combo from Harbor Freight. And as you can see, I've placed it above where my heater is going to be sitting. When the heat rises off the heater, fan will help to circulate some of the air. And then combining that with the open vents should make sure that we don't get any carbon monoxide in here. And yeah, hopefully this fan can hold up for the whole night. I believe I paid around $25 for this fan at Harbor Freight. For the first piece of our sleeping setup, I have this Cabela's compact cot. This is a camping cot designed to fold up into a small bag. And as you can see here, this really does get compact. And I really like this cot because it doesn't take up a ton of space in your truck, or if you're pulling stuff out in a sled. Obviously, this is much better than a lot of the other folding up cot options. It seems to be really important to make sure that you're running a cot versus an air mattress or just sleeping on the straight floor when you're ice camping, because the ground is where the coldness is, and the higher up you are, the warmer it's going to be. So it's super important to try to elevate yourself. I really do like this cot, and this was a total of $30 on Facebook Marketplace. On top of the cot, I have this $30 Amazon sleeping pad to hopefully make my sleeping situation a little more comfortable, add some cushion. It took me about a minute to inflate this, and it got pretty dang sturdy. I've never used this pad before, but I've slept on a cot with no sleeping pad, and it was miserable. And after setting this up, I just laid on it for a minute, and it seems like it's going to be a lot better than if I were to just be sleeping on the cot alone. The last piece of equipment that we have is the 0 Degree sleeping bag. So this is a 0 Degree Cabela's brand sleeping bag. This is an old one. I've owned it for a while, but I will add $50 to our final cost because that's what it seemed like 0 Degree sleeping bags were going for on the internet, on Facebook Marketplace, places like that. You see this one's kind of the mummy style where it's got a hood, it wraps you up nice inside, and you don't actually probably need a 0 Degree sleeping bag. You can get away with something a little bit lighter if you wanted to, but I recommend going with that just in case something catastrophic were to happen during the night. That way, if the heater goes out or something and you don't want to pack up and go home, you can make it through the night in a 0 Degree sleeping bag. This is the sleeping bag that I got, and that's our last piece of gear. Hard to tell on video, but this hub is very spacious. Obviously, I have my bed set up here, and then I have all this open space for just moving around, setting up my rods. And if I have multiple people, I can actually set up another cot here or 2 in a row here. And it just leaves all this space for chairs and sitting area. Once I finally had everything set up, it was time to start fishing. I immediately had quite a few marks on my flasher, so I had good hope for the spot. But after fishing for a few hours, I had nothing to show for it. Unfortunately, the jumbo perch on this specific lake seemed to get really finicky in the late season, which resulted in very few bites despite marking a ton of fish. I ended up catching a couple of nice jumbos as well as some big sunnies, but overall the fishing was pretty slow. On the bright side though, the focus of this video was on the camping aspect, and so far everything was going smooth on that side of things. Well, it's about 7 o'clock, 7:30, and fishing has pretty much died off. I haven't had a mark on the Vexilar in a while. So I'm going to take this time to eat. See what we got in the cooler. All right, we're going to be going with some venison sausages, some venison meat sticks, some chips and salsa, and maybe a chocolate rice cake for dessert. I did not want to have to cook out here. I didn't have the money to buy a grill or any of that sort of equipment, so we're just eating what we can, and it's going to be delicious. I think I'm going to head to bed. I'd say everything's going about as good as it could be for now. This budget setup seems to be holding up pretty well. The fishing isn't going the best, but the camping I have no complaints about. We're going to head to bed, and as you can see, the temperature before we hit the hay is 66 in here. It's definitely a little bit colder down in the bed area, so it's not going to be quite as warm, and I'm also probably going to turn the heater on low. I do have a 0 Degree sleeping bag, so honestly, like anything above 30 degrees and I'll be sleeping with plenty of comfort. And then I also have a second CO detector right next to somewhat level with my head. That way, in case this one fails or is too high up, I can be sure that I don't have any issues. But yeah, I think I'm going to hit the hay, and I will see you guys in the morning. Hopefully catch some fish bright and early. All right, good morning. It's about 6:40 a.m. I slept not too bad, considering that it's, 20 degrees outside. It wasn't as comfortable as my bed at home by any means, but I slept okay in it. Let's see what we got for temperature in here. 73 degrees, and it's not much colder down by the ground. Yeah, honestly, not too bad. I'd do it again. So I'm gonna start getting stuff set up, and we'll see if we can catch some fish this morning. Well guys, fishing slowed down. It's about noon and I got to get going, so I'm going to start packing all this up. But before I do, I want to do a quick overview of all the main items that I got and talk about the efficiency of each of them and whether I liked them or not, if I'd buy them again. So starting with the hub, this hub is great. Like I said, I'll show you one more time just to prove. 73 degrees, and I've been going in and out. And I know a lot of people have issues with condensation on the walls when they use the Mr. Buddy heaters, but I mean, these are completely dry, no dripping, absolutely nothing on the quilting. The only area that's wet is these plastic windows. But yeah, the hub is insulated well enough where the inside of it does not get condensated at all. I'm moving on to the floor. This is definitely the most important piece of the entire setup. The instant I took off those two pieces this morning to start fishing again, it got colder in here. So I would definitely say that having these mats is extremely important. And I actually went with the 1/2 inch, like I said earlier, but honestly, I think the 1/2 inch did good enough, but I'm kind of wishing I went with 3/4 or a full inch, because you definitely can feel it on your feet. My feet are constantly cold, whereas my head and upper body are just fine. But honestly, anything's better than nothing, and I don't think I would even consider camping out here without having full coverage of these mats on the bottom. The sleeping arrangement, cot did pretty well. It was a little stiff. It's not like sleeping out of bed at home, but then again, what can you expect for ice camping? And for sleeping out on the ice, I'd say it was a pretty comfortable setup, and that sleeping pad did really well. Seemed to hold air all night just fine, and it was much better than sleeping on the straight cot. My sleeping bag, honestly, I had a 0-degree sleeping bag because I was worried that if something went wrong and I'd be stuck out here in the cold, so that's why I chose that. But you definitely would not need a 0-degree sleeping bag if you're gonna use a full setup like this with mats and a hub, because like I said, it's 70 degrees in here, so that was completely overkill. Granted, it is a little colder down by the ground. This fan that I bought is supposed to be a light and fan combo. It claimed that it would run a lot longer than it did. That thing was probably not worth my money. I'll end up returning that. The fan lasted about 3-4 hours, and I only had the light on for about an hour before it died. And then the Buddy heater, that's a tried and true classic. I mean, those always work. And honestly, I did not even use the double function of this one single time. Honestly, I had no problem with just using the one burner on medium. Overall, I would say that this setup worked really well. And honestly, I don't think it could have gone much better for my first time out here. I stayed warm. I caught a couple fish, but we weren't here for the fishing. We were here for the camping. And the camping aspect went great. And I'm definitely going to be doing this more often. There's a couple things I'm going to refine. But overall, if you're looking to get into a budget setup under $500 just to get out here and start doing it, you can't beat this setup here. Well, as you can see, I've got everything packed up behind me. I'm in my truck and I am ready to head home. Overall, I really don't think that this trip could have gone much better than it did. I managed to stay warm, sleep comfortably, and I even caught a couple fish. I didn't catch as many as I was hoping for. I guess overall, I can't complain about the final outcome of the trip. Obviously, the goal of this challenge was to be able to do an overnight for under $500. And like I said, the total that I spent on everything was $495. Which just goes to show you guys that you don't have to spend a ton of money to get into new hobbies, to go camping, to do any sort of outdoor activity. If you really use your money wisely, shop around, use Facebook Marketplace and negotiation tactics, you can manage to get an entire setup like I did for much cheaper than if you were to buy all the stuff brand new and go with the latest and greatest stuff. Clearly, my setup wasn't as good as it could have been, not as nice as some people who do the overnight ice camping, but at the end of the day, I spent less money on my entire setup that many people spend on an uninsulated hub brand new. So this just goes to show that if you're looking to get into things, get outdoors, do new hobbies, try ice fishing, ice camping, anything like that, but you're on a budget like I was, it's 100% possible to get out and do those things for much cheaper than you ever would have thought. All right, I'm gonna head home and I'll catch you guys in the next one.